Our world is always changing, right? But have you ever really stopped and wondered where our ideas of right and wrong actually come from? The contemporary age, which kicked off around the time of the French Revolution, wasn't just about new maps or new tech. It completely shattered our old moral certainties. So let's dive into this story of crisis and the massive search for a new moral compass.
Okay, to really get today's ethics, you have to understand the sheer, unadulterated chaos of the last couple of centuries. First, the Industrial Revolution turns society completely upside down. Then, boom, World War I, the first truly global war, leaves a staggering 10 million dead. Just a decade after that, the entire world economy just collapses. And all of that was just the warm-up for World War II, a conflict that took over 50 million more lives and gave us the unimaginable horrors of the Holocaust and the atomic bomb. This wasn't just stuff happening in a textbook, it was the entire old world order being blown to bits.
So all this chaos, all this destruction, it left everyone with this massive, unavoidable question. If the old ways, the traditions, the religions, the moral codes, couldn't stop any of this from happening, then what good were they? With the old rulebook completely torn to shreds, humanity had to ask itself, okay, now what? How are we supposed to live now?
Our first guide into this new, uncharted territory is the one and only Friedrich Nietzsche. And let me tell you, he wasn't interested in just patching up the old maps of morality. He basically said, forget it. Those maps were a lie from the start, designed to keep us weak and under control. His answer? It's time we all draw our own.
And this leads us to Nietzsche's famous idea of the Übermensch, or the overman. Now, this isn't some superhero in a cape. Think of it more as an ideal, an individual who gets past the simple, lazy labels of good and evil to create their own path. The overman doesn't just follow values, they create them. They're driven by what Nietzsche called the will to power. Not power over others, but this deep, fundamental drive to grow, to overcome challenges, and to become the most you can possibly be. And man, this is where he throws the challenge right back at us. For Nietzsche, being human isn't the finish line. It's just a bridge to whatever comes next. He's looking right at you and asking, what are you doing to get over your own limitations? What have you done to stop being just another face in the crowd and become a creator of meaning in a world that has none? That is a heavy question.
Okay, so if Nietzsche tore up the map, our next thinker, Jean-Paul Sartre, kind of looked at the blank page and got terrified. He took that idea of total freedom and showed everyone its dark side, this incredible, crushing responsibility. He called it the burden of choice.
Sartre's whole philosophy hinges on this one powerful phrase: existence precedes essence. Think about it like this. A paper knife is designed with a purpose, to cut paper. Before it's even made, its essence comes first. But humans, we're the opposite. We're just born. We exist, that's it. And then, through every single choice we make, every action we take, we build our own purpose, our own essence. You are, quite literally, the sum of your choices. Nothing more, nothing less. And this quote, this is the heart of his whole deal. We are condemned to be free. Why condemned? Because we didn't ask for it, but here we are. The second we're born, we're thrown into this life of endless decisions, and there's no escaping the weight of them. There's no divine plan to fall back on, no one else to blame. It's all on you. Every single choice.
But wait a minute. What if those choices aren't really as free as Sartre thinks? This is where our next philosopher, Michel Foucault, steps in. He shifts the camera from the individual to all these invisible systems of power that are constantly shaping us. And he asks a really uncomfortable question. Who's actually writing the rules we all live by?
Foucault breaks down this cycle of control. And it's not some guy in a smoke-filled room pulling the strings. It's way sneakier than that. It starts with power creating discourses, basically the accepted ways of talking and thinking about things, like medicine or crime or sex. These discourses then define what our society accepts as true or normal. Finally, institutions like schools, hospitals, and prisons are there to enforce these truths, quietly creating what he called disciplined bodies, people who follow the rules without even realizing they're being controlled. So if we're all tangled up in this invisible web of power, what can we even do? Is ethics even possible? For Foucault, the answer is yes. Ethics becomes an act of resistance. He calls it the care of the self. And what that means is actively working to understand the forces that are trying to shape you, and then deliberately carving out your own way of living, your own identity in spite of those pressures. It's about inventing your own life.
Okay, so after Nietzsche, Sartre, and Foucault basically took a sledgehammer to traditional morality, a new question popped up. Now what? How do we rebuild? How can we possibly create a shared ethical foundation in a world where nobody agrees on anything? Two major paths forward started to emerge, and they focus not just on ourselves, but on how we relate to other people.
Let's put these two big ideas side by side. On one hand, you have Emmanuel Levinas. As a Holocaust survivor, ethics for him wasn't some abstract puzzle. It was raw. It was human. He said it all starts the moment you look into the face of another person and feel this profound, undeniable responsibility for them, a duty that comes before any rules or laws. On the other hand, Jürgen Habermas saw a different way forward, not through emotion, but through reason. He believed that if we can just create spaces where we can have open, rational, respectful conversations, we can actually work together to figure out ethical rules we can all agree on.
So where does that leave us? Well, we didn't find one single magic compass, did we? Nope, we found a whole toolkit. Nietzsche tells us to be the artist of our own values. Sartre demands that we own every single choice we make. Foucault urges us to wake up and resist the invisible systems of control. Levinas calls us to a deep personal duty to others. And Habermas tells us we need to talk it out honestly and freely. 5 very different tools for trying to find our way in the modern world.
And that brings us right back to you. The whole massive, confusing search for ethics in our time, it really boils down to this one question for your own life. Who designs the rules? Is it the invisible hand of power that Foucault warned us about? Is it the shared understanding we build through dialogue like Habermas hoped? Or at the end of the day, is it just you, alone, as Nietzsche and Sartre challenged, drawing your own map in the dark? The search for that compass, well, it continues.